I'm going to start off with Jeremiah chapter 6. And I want to recap a little bit from last week. Jeremiah 6. Jeremiah 6, verse 16. Thus said Yahuwah, stand in the ways and see, and ask for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for your souls, for yourselves. But they said, we do not walk in it. So we talked last week about the ancient path, about the old ways, the ancient ways. And we said that the ancient path is not something that's old and done away with, but it's something that's eternal. It's something that's everlasting. So we're tapping back into Yah's everlasting ways. His ways up there, they were, they are, they will be, they're eternal. So when we're looking back at the ancient past and his ways, we're not trying to just redo old things. We're not trying to just do, we're not trying to replay the past and just do things that they used to do in the past. But we're tapping back into the mindset and the things that Yah, the ways that Yah has always, his character that's always been. So we're trying to tap back into his thoughts and his ways for us that have always been and that always will be. So we're trying to tap back into the everlasting part. And it says, returning to the ancient path is not old ways, but eternal and everlasting ways that cause us to be good. And we said last week that good in Hebrew is tov. And the underlying meaning of being good, being tov, is to be functional. It's to be functional. So we're trying to get back to find the good way, the functional way, the way that works as it's supposed to work. It says these ways have become hidden and lost to us for a few reasons. So we talked about some different reasons last week. Why is it that we're trying to refine this path? Why are we trying to refine this way that's been lost? The first thing we talked about was the tree of good and evil. In the Hebrew meaning functional and dysfunctional. So let's turn to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3. And this is where the serpent or the Nakash is speaking to Hawa, to Eve, and is tricking her and deceiving her into eating what Yah told her not to eat. And verse 4 says, and the Nakash said to the woman, you shall certainly not die. For Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil, knowing Tov and Ra. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. So we talked last week about how good and evil, how functional and dysfunctional, how something, when Yah gives something, it's functional for everybody. When Yah gives something, it's good for the whole. It's good for the whole community. So when he says that something is good, he's not just thinking about the individual. He's already stepped out and said, okay, I want things to be this way because this works for, first of all, it's eternal. This is something that's going to continue to work. And then it's something that's going to work for everybody. But when we think that things are good, we look at what's good for ourselves. So we'll decide, well, this works for me. This is good for me. So we'll do something that's good for us and that's pleasing to our eyes and that's working for us and that's desirable to us, but it may have a domino effect and a trickle effect that's going to negatively impact somebody else. But we don't look at that. We don't even perceive all of that. We just see our portion of it. So that's why we have to trust Yah in his ways, because he sees the big picture. He knows, okay, this may seem good for the moment, but down the line, he's always looking at community. So some of the things when he laid out his Torah, you might say, well, why do that, or why not do that? Like, what's the purpose of this? You know, and even for yourself, like we may decide, okay, well, I can eat what I want to eat.
Right.
It's just affecting me. You know, I can, if I have sex with somebody, it's just between me and them. You know, it's my business.
Right.
You know, if I, so we just think within that small context, okay, this works, this is good, and this is desirable for me. But Yah says, no, what I see is you're going to get pregnant, and then you're going to have a child, and then he's going to leave, and then that child's going to be by themselves. And now your son's going to grow up without a father, and then he's going to have a son, and then he's going to not know how to raise his son. So this is this is going to affect the community, because now you got people, so this is affecting the whole thing. This is one decision that we think. You know, so we may think, I'm just going to eat what I want to eat. So we talked about that. We talked about the ecosystem. You should have the picture there. The ecosystem. We talked about how the ecosystem, everything works together. When Yah created the heavens, when He created the trees, when He created everything, the water, when He created everything, He created it all to work in synergy together. It all works together. So something can't decide to stop doing what it's doing and just decide to do something else. Like the sun can't stop shining on the earth. That's going to have a trickle effect. It's going to affect everything else. So everything in Yah's creation works together. And we talked about how at the end of the day, when He created each day, He said that He called it good, functional, doing what it's designed and intended to do. All right, so verse 6, we see that Hawa decided to go ahead and eat the fruit that Yah said not to eat from, the tree of knowing the knowledge of good and evil, of Tov and Ra, of function and dysfunction. In verse 7 it says, then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. So their eyes were open, and now they knew that they were naked. So then they took an action, and they sewed fig leaves together to make coverings for themselves. So first of all, their perception started to change because they were naked before.
That's right.
Y'all saw it as being good, as being functional. But as soon as they ate from this tree that was giving off both fruits of the function and dysfunction, now from their eyes, their own perception, they saw it as not being good. So then they started taking steps to cover themselves.
Yeah.
Then they made they had their own way of going about that, of covering themselves. So they decided, I think it would be good to cover myself with these, these fig leaves. You know, so we're going to cover it with these fig leaves. So that was their plan. It seemed good to them. It seems innocent, makes sense, you know.
Man is so arrogant.
So we know that later on, I'm not going to read all the way down, but we know that later on, Yah makes a covering for them out of flesh, out of the skin of an animal.
Right.
So he has to take away the what they created to be able to put what he saw was adequate in being able to cover them in this situation. So what they thought in their own eyes, what they thought was right in their own eyes, wasn't sufficient.
Right.
And Yah had to come and do something that was going to be sufficient in this situation.
Because it had to be blood.
Right.
It had to be blood.
But they didn't know that. and that's how so Yah had to undo what they had done to put something that was functional, put something that worked better.
Can I just add something for a second? It reminds me of when Cain killed Abel. He brought the fruit from the ground, which Adam thought to cover himself with. And then Abel brought the lamb, which y'all had to kill an animal in order to cover it.
Right.
It's like the same repeated pattern from father to son.
Yeah. Same line of thinking.
Yeah.
When the apostle was teaching on Shabbat, and going over Romans 12, we were talking about how how you have to tear something down, basically how to renew is you're doing a reconstruction. And this word jumped out at me. Dismantle. And so y'all was showing me. Have you ever put together furniture before? Like this furniture that you got to put together, like you got all the pieces, you got the little, all the like a bookshelf, you got all the wood or whatever, you got the screws and all the stuff, and you have the instructions. But most of the time we just kind of look at the pictures, right? So we kind of know how it goes. So you might have pictures or whatever. But have you ever been putting something together, assembling something, and then you like almost finished, and then something don't look right? Or you think you're finished, but then you look and you have like 3 or 4 more pieces left, and you're like, okay, do I just let it? Do I just work with what it looks like it's gonna work? Do I just let those pieces go? I put something together one time, and I think it was like a shelf or something, and I had the wood in the wrong direction, like it was facing the wrong way, but it fit, everything fit right until I got to the end, and it was like a piece that was like, okay, this is on the back, it was supposed to be in the front. And it was something that was going to make it, whether it was going to be stable or unstable. So I wanted to leave the piece off, but it was like, the whole thing may fall. So now even though I built this whole thing and it looks like it's functional, now I have to dismantle the whole thing. Take it all apart and start all the way over. So we got to disassemble it and dismantle it so that it can be built back the right way. So y'all show me that he's doing that with us right now.
Yes.
We talked last week about how in the ecosystem, how through the journey we've been through as a people, we've learned to adapt. You know, in the ecosystem, we talk about how animals, sometimes when they're in different environments, when different things happen in the climate, they have to learn how to adjust and adapt so that they can survive. Right. And we've gone through that same process from being a people that were in Eden, and being kicked out into the world. We had to adapt to that environment. When y'all had a place that was designed just for us, we had to go to a place that wasn't, didn't have that divine covering and learn how to adapt to that. And we know that evil prevailed during that time period until the flood. So then after the flood, evil began to prevail again. Right. And then y'all had to pull a people out and separate this people. He pulled us out, the nation of Israel, and developed a nation out of our people. And through Abraham, he separated that people and then eventually brought us to a land. So he separated us and kind of created our own habitat, our own ecosystem that worked functionally because we followed his Torah, his instructions, and he gave us a way to go that was functional. So, but then we didn't do what we were supposed to do. We got kicked out of our land. And then we ended up in captivity. So we went through Babylon. We went through being ruled by Babylon, being ruled by the Greeks, being ruled by Rome, where we're still under this Roman rule right now. Yeah. So through all this transition, we adapted in ways that didn't work for our advantage. So we adapted to survive, but we picked up all these things along the way that caused us to flow differently. We talked about how we came over here for from the transatlantic slave trade and being moved from the east. So we were in the east where it was it's a different type of culture over there. It's a different type of mindset. Yeah. Now we're over in the west, and it's a whole different ball game over here. We from our agricultural environment to moving us into cities. And and for coming out of slavery, now we're so-called free, but now we're in these environments that aren't functional. Yeah. But we have to adapt. So we've adapted ways that work for us. It got us through. You know what I mean? It got us to what we had to do. When we were in slavery, they fed us the worst parts of animals. Right. The things that were supposed to be thrown out. Yes. That became our diet. That's right. What do? We made it soul food. Yeah. There you go. We survived. That's what we did. So they probably would rather us have just died off right then. Let it just kill us. But we done seasoned it up, and now we selling dinners. We making fish fry. So we learned how to, as we said last week, make lemons out of lemon. How to make lemons out of lemonade. How to make lemonade out of lemons. So we've adapted. They threw us in the cities, threw us in these environments, and hip hop emerged. You know what I'm saying? So we made a culture out of, okay, you're doing this to my mind. Guess what? I'm going to come up with words and rhymes to be able to express this and to be able to connect with my people. So we adapted.
Right.
So everything they try to throw at us to kill us, we just adapted.
Right.
You know what I mean? So while we talk about how this adaptation was a good thing, you know what I mean? Because it allowed us to survive. We made it. But it still moved us further and further and further and further away from the good way, the ancient everlasting path. Because we see the result is that as a community we're dying. You know, all the choices that we make that are allowing us to survive from the generation, we also are passing this. We're still passing these things down that helped us survive, but it's not functional. Yeah. It's not good. It's not the way that Yah would have us to live. Because the ways that Yah give us leads to life. You know, they multiply life. But the ways we pass down, it allowed us to live, but it also caused death. It caused us, you know. So, but we've come so far that, like, because something works, we think that it's good.
That's right.
It worked, you know, worked for my mother, worked for my grandmother, worked, you know, it worked. You know, so we just keep working it. You know what they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
We don't realize it's broke.
Yeah.
It's not working. You know, we look at the big picture, it's not working. You know, so what y'all was showing me is that he has to, as we come back into this truth and we come back to his word and we're coming back to seeking the ancient paths, he's saying to us that, you know, even though in our adaptive we've done the best that we could, but now he's saying he has to dismantle some things. It's built up just like that bookshelf was built up and it looks like it's working. You know, we're making it, you know, we're doing this, we're going to college, we're doing all these things and it looks like it's working. But he's saying, but it's not stable.
Right.
The bookshelf is rocking. It's going to fall. It's going to collapse. It's not doing what I intended to do. Mm-hmm. So he's saying that he needs to, just like he had to strip Adam and Eve of what they were covering themselves with in order to cover them in a way that was going to last. He has to start stripping us of some of the things that we're covering ourselves with because it's a greater way that he wants to be able to give us. Yes. He has a more lasting covering. When he covered them with that, when Yah covered them with that flesh of the animal, he was signifying a whole plan of salvation that he had for all of mankind. That's right. Which is way better than the leaves that they just covered themselves. Yeah. Because what about everybody else? That wasn't a plan, but it worked. Yeah. They weren't naked no more. And that's what we've been doing. We've been doing things that cause us to feel like we're not naked no more.
Come on now.
But it's not something that's everlasting. It's not something we can pass down from generation to generation. It's going to bring us deliverance and salvation. So as Apostle was telling us on Shabbat about how big is Yah in our world.
Yes.
When it comes to this, it's up to us how much we're gonna allow Yah to come into our world. Mm-hmm. You know, because we may just say I'm good. It's a little, you know. You ever like I had a dresser that I bought, you know, and I got a good price for it, but it was a little wobbly. You know, I was at the store buying it. The guy was like, "Just put a book underneath of it." Yeah. It didn't work. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna do that. Brought it home, got a little something slid up. It works. Yeah. It's cheap. Works for me. Yeah. You know, so that's kind of where we're at with our lives. It's kind of like Yah comes in and he wants to, you know, your bookshelf is not really. Just go ahead and pull that from under it. You know, let me fix it. Right. But I'm gonna have to disassemble it and assemble it the right way. Yeah. And we're like, well, no, thank you. Yes. I'm good with what I got going on right now. It's working. Let's just leave it like this.
Come on with it.
Y'all's like, I need to disassemble it so that I can fix it in the right way. Because if you're going to be a carrier of His glory, you can't be wobbly.
All right.
You know, so we say, you know, my world is fully assembled. You know, this, and we even pray that my world is fully assembled. You know, y'all. So just come in and bless me. Come on, you know what I'm saying? Come in and elevate me based on what I got going on, you know, and you know, and build on the foundation that I have built right here. And y'all's like, I don't build on the foundation of man.
That's right.
I don't build on your foundation. You know, so you have to allow me to build you on my foundation. In order to do that, I have to disassemble what you built. You know, and he's like, I'll be gentle. You know, it'll be a process. It won't be all at once. It's not a demolition where he's going to come in. You know how they take a big ball and just destroy you? Because I'm not going to destroy you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to tear you to pieces.
That's right.
You know, but we're gonna unscrew this piece of wood right here.
Come on now.
Put that down. You know, we're gonna go through this process together, piece by piece, so that I can put you back together. Because when I put you back together, then you're gonna be able to be a carrier. Then you're gonna be stable and founded on the right foundation. But we have to go through the process.
Yes. I love it.
He says, "Come to me as a child and let me dismantle what you have." You know what I mean? But I'll be able to, you know, what you thought was good. Let me dismantle it. Come to me as a child. Come to me as a living sacrifice. You know, willingly. You know, just surrender, and I'll walk with you. That's why He gave us the ruach.
That's right.
To be able to walk with us through that process. So all the things that culturally, He's going to begin to start dealing with things in us culturally that may seem right in our own eyes. In let's see. Let me read something. We'll have to turn to. You can write down Judges 17:6. Judges 17:6. It says, "In those days there was no king in Yisra'el. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. There was no righteous rulership. So people just did what they thought was right."
That's right.
You know, because Yah would put people in order that would be able to rightly discern, you know, good and evil and right and wrong. And, you know, but during this time, there was nobody there. There was nobody appointed. So people just did what was right in their own eyes.
That's right.
And it may be good. It may have not been good. May have looked functional. It may have worked. But Yah says, man, let me go to Proverbs. Proverbs 21:2 says, "All a man's ways are right in his own eyes, but Yahuwah weighs the heart." All a man's ways are right in his own eyes. We reason things based on you know, our own conscience. We reason things and they seem right to us. But Yah says He weighs the heart. He's able to reveal to us what it really is.
No, I was looking at, did you say Judges 17:6?
Yeah.
The Proverbs, not possible.
No, I know,
Okay.
but I can't find what she just
Judges
read.
17:6.
No wonder, look.
That'll never work.
Yes, we
He said that'll never work.
That'll never work. Excuse me, class.
That was Judges 17:6, and then we read Proverbs 21:2.
Right.
Then I'm going to read Proverbs 14:12. It says, "There is a way which seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." There's a way that seems right, but it doesn't lead to life, basically.
That's right.
And I'm going to read Isaiah 5:20 through 21, I believe. Isaiah 5:20. It says, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight." And that's pretty much the world.
Yeah.
That's the whole world. The whole world calls evil good and calls good evil.
Yeah.
It's the world system.
switches things up. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we don't want to fall into this category of calling evil good and calling good evil.
Yeah.
We want y'all to test our hearts and to renew our minds so that we can be able to test what's good, and what's evil. And as we're changing as a culture, and we're getting back to our Hebraic culture, our eyes are gonna start changing.
That's right.
About everything, about details of our lives that we haven't gotten to yet.
That's right.
You know what I mean? The way that we, the things that we leave to our personal discretion, like the way that we manage money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We manage it the way that we want to manage it. You know, there's a lot of things that we do to our personal discretion, and y'all's like, you know, and things are going to we're going to start getting into some topics that may get a little tight.
Yeah.
They may get a little touchy because a lot of things we feel like, you know,
It's okay.
everyone is over 18, so we feel like I'm grown. This is my business. I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I come to y'all for him to deal with my spirit. You know, but I manage everything else. You know, that's
totally stupid.
You know, and if I need to be blessed, then I go to him. But like y'all saying that he didn't give us just a spirituality; he gave us a culture, and that's what we're trying to change in our minds. He gave us a culture.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a culture, there's a certain way that you do things. There's a certain way that you dress when you have a culture. Because of the mindset that goes behind it, not because of a style, but there's a mindset that you have that causes you to dress a certain way.
Right.
There's a mindset that you have that causes you to eat a certain way.
Right.
There's a mindset that you have that causes you to see money a certain way.
Yeah.
There's a mindset that causes you to carry your relationships a certain way. The way that you parent, the way that you worship, the way that we do everything, the way that you approach work and how you bring in income. All those things are part of culture. So the world has its own culture in the way that it dictates those things, and it's all in line with what they think is right. And it's revolving around, for this world, it's revolving around money, really. The God of money, and everything, all the mindsets and all these areas of life revolves around that. So, in any culture, when we look at the hip hop culture that we use to be able to adapt, it's a certain way that you dress. Certain things that, a certain way that you dress, a certain way that you think about money. There's a certain way that you think about working. You on your grind all the time. You know what I mean? There's a mindset there's a mindset behind everything.
That's right.
Everything that you do, there's a mindset behind it. So y'all saying these are the things that I need to come into your life, and I need to start dismantling. I need to take it apart piece by piece. I can't build on it. You think that you've adapted, you've used this method, you've done the best you can, but now let me show you how, if I was raising you from a child, how I would have you to do this. How would I become a child again, and let me show you how to handle money. Let me show you what I think about how to parent.
Yeah.
Let me show you how I think about relationships, or the way that you look, the way that you carry yourself. Let me show you what I think about it.
Yeah.
Those are the things God's going to start rearranging in our lives and changing our mindset so that it's a natural flow into those things. When your mindset changes. When I started learning who I am and who our people are, and it's funny the things that will change. I used to like right now, like when a man would have like a clean face, like a clean cut face. When I used to see men with beards, I used to be like, ugh. I used to be like, it's too much. Yeah, the dude had a nice cut. It was like, okay, yeah, I like that. But it's funny, like when I came into understanding of who we are and what they did to our people and what they're doing in the world, like my mindset started changing. And I started, now when I see a guy with no hair on his face, it's kind of like, where's his hair? Because I started seeing masculinity different. I started seeing how they try to feminize us or try to do things to feminize the men, you know what I mean, and how they want to strip that masculinity away. There's certain companies that require you to cut your facial hair in order to work there. Why? But that's like a mindset change that changed my whole, like when I see a man with a beard, it's like, yeah, that looks right to me, when like 10 years ago it was like, why does he want to cut that? You know what I mean? So it's like y'all will start to show you things that will change your whole mindset. It will change your whole everything, your whole physiology. Like y'all will transform your mind in a way that transforms the culture. So that things will become more, it'll become your natural way. You know what I mean? It's not just things you're doing. A lot of people are coming into this truth of who we are, and the first thing we do, we might wrap our hair up, or we might, start looking the look and dressing the dress, and putting everything in order. But the inside hasn't changed yet.
That's right.
So y'all saying, the outside things are good, but not if the inside hasn't changed. Not if it's not a reflection of what has changed on the inside.
Right.
So the inside has to change, and then the outside changes. They're both necessary. But it has to be from the inside out to be everlasting.
Yeah. That goes with the scripture, trust in Yahweh with all your heart, lean like to your own insight and understanding. But in all your ways, know me, acknowledge me, and let me direct you.
That's right.
He's going to be directing our paths. All right, I think I touched on the first two. We talked about the tree, talked about being separated from our natural habitat and being brought over here. And then last week we talked about the changing of time, seasons, and laws. We went to Daniel. It said that he was going to think to change the times and the laws. And we thought about why would they think to change time and laws? Why would seasons? Why would those things be important for them to try to change, and what impact would they have? So we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to get a little bit into times, talking about the times and the seasons for a moment, and we're kind of building up to, because we're going to be talking about the spring feast days coming up soon. So we're going to try to kind of build up to that. So I want to go back real quick to last week. I gave you the handout that had. We talked about New Year's. It had the thing on New Year's there. And it talked about the Roman god Janus. This sheet right here.
The one with the double head, the head looking both ways.
This one in your pocket.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. I'm just trying to see if I stuck it in here, because I have another note for it.
Yep. All right, so we noticed that we said that in ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, and endings. He's usually depicted as having two faces, since he looks to the future and to the past. So when you see in your picture, he has two faces, looking back and looking forward. So this god that they have, and this Roman god or whatever, this mythical god, is depicted this way, and it kind of revolves around, in January when the New Year's is coming up. Everybody's doing the New Year's resolutions. Everybody's kind of, they have at the end of the year, everybody's looking back over the year, over the last year. Everybody's looking forward, what I'm gonna do next year. So it kind of has the same connotation, and it kind of comes from that. So if you look on your paper, it says looking, and on the line you can write backwards. Looking backwards and looking forward. Looking backwards and looking forward, but not looking at the present.
That's good. That's very good.
The world desires to keep us preoccupied with the past and with the future, and expecting results despite the fact that we're never in the present. We're never in the now, or we're not conscious of how what we do now affects us now and in the future. So the world likes for us to look in the past, in life in general. Things try to keep us looking backwards all the time. Looking backwards or looking forward. And there's times where it's good to look backwards and to look forward. But most of the time we're doing one or the other, and we're never here. We're never in the now. We're never present. So sometimes the enemy will play with our minds, and we'll focus on things we did wrong in the past. We'll focus on The world likes to focus on what we did wrong in the past. They like to keep us, you know, they like to trap us by our past.
Yes,
They like
they
to
do.
capture the past.
Yes, they do.
So it's like a anchor, almost like, you know, if you do anything wrong in your past, they're gonna keep you tied to it. You know, and we do it to ourselves with things happening. Thoughts will come to our minds to keep us attached to our errors and our mistakes,
That's
to
good.
keep us negatively, you know, thinking about negative things.
That's right.
Fear dominates our lives because we're thinking about the past. You know, when this happened and that happened. You know, so from within, we're constantly thinking about the past. From without, they constantly want us looking at the past, and that keeps us preoccupied. So we're not looking at the past. Sometimes we're looking at the future. You know, so we're planning. You know, New Year's coming, planning. You know, this year I'm gonna do this, and then next 5 years, the next 10 years. You know, and you end up making the same New Year's resolution year after year after year, because during the whole course of that year, you were probably focused on the present or the past, and never focused on the tools that you need right now to be able to be effective in the past. I mean, sorry, in the future. You know, so, or being present right now to get what you need right now, so that you can have what you need to be what you want to be in the future. You know, so that the emphasis is never placed on the now. You know, as far as the world is concerned, but it keeps you preoccupied. Keeps you preoccupied. Even the things that they give us, like, it's the strength. I'm glad I'm not like a performer, like someone that sings and all that kind of stuff. Because I remember, you know, back in the day, you go to a concert and you dancing and you enjoying the concert. But like now, if you're at a concert, everybody has their phone, like everybody has their phone recording it. You know, and it's when I first saw it's the strangest thing. Like I would hate to be somebody up there singing because nobody's dancing. Everybody's completely still trying to record the moment. So they can share it with somebody else, so you can have it for the future. And you missed being there, like you didn't enjoy it. You didn't dance and sing. You didn't enjoy the moment, because you're trying to capture it for later on. And you're not present. You know what I mean? So everything tries to get us to not be present, because the present is where your power is. Your power is right now. Your power, and the only thing that actually exists is right now.
Yes.
Future doesn't exist yet. The past is dead. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. The most elements of it, except for the things that were eternal. We'll look at that. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6, verse 25. Because of this I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat or drink, or about your body. This is Yahushua talking. What you shall put on. Is not life more than the food, and the body more than the clothing? Look at the birds of the heaven, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into storehouses, yet your heavenly Father does feed them. Are you not worth more than they? And which of you by worrying is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? So why do you worry about clothing? Note well the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And I said to you that even Solomon in all his esteem was not dressed like one of these. But if Elohim so clothes the grass of the field, which exists today and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, how much more you, O you of little faith? Do not worry then, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For all these the nations seek for, and your heavenly Father knows that you need all these. But seek first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these shall be added to you. Do not then worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow shall have its own worries. Each day has enough evil of itself. Yahushua said, do not then worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has its own worries. Each day has enough evil of itself. So he's saying, stay in today.
That's right.
Tomorrow has its own worries.
That's good.
Tomorrow has its own worries.
And then in this translation, it says, tomorrow will worry about itself.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
And flip over in the same chapter, flip over to verse 11. Same chapter, 6:11. And this is he's giving the prayer that they asked him how to pray. And he said, this is how you pray. In verse 11 says, give us today our daily bread.
Yeah.
Yes.
Give us today our daily bread.
Yeah.
So he said that when you pray, ask Yah to give you what you need for today. Give you the bread, give you the sustenance, give you what you need for today.
Mm-hmm.
Let tomorrow take care of itself. Because when tomorrow comes, if it comes for you, then give me today my daily bread. Each day,
That's right.
my daily bread. So each day, he'll give us our daily bread. But today, he's not going to give us bread for today and tomorrow and the next day. We saw this in Exodus. We saw this with Moshe when he first was teaching them the Sabbath.
Right.
And he said, okay, when we got to the 6th day, we got to Friday. He said, for today, you'll gather for today and tomorrow. You know, but they got for today they gathered, but then they got scared and they started gathering.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all's like, no. And he allowed all the extra and the excess to rot.
Right.
He's like, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But they started gathering all the excess. So he said, today I give you your daily bread, what you need for today. I can't give you something for where you haven't gotten yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't help you with your worries for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Stop worrying about tomorrow. I can help give you peace in today.
Mm-hmm.
I can help give you what you need in today.
Mm-hmm.
Give me today my daily bread. Tomorrow we'll have enough to worry about. And when tomorrow comes, come to me and ask me for your daily bread.
That's right.
Because we don't want to, okay, can you just get me for the rest of the week? Like, no. Come back to me tomorrow, then I'll give you your daily bread again.
That's right.
You know, he keeps us coming back to him.
That's right.
That keeps us from having worry about anxiety about anything when we do that daily.
Yeah, it keeps us from focusing on self,
Mm-hmm.
and it causes us to focus on Him.
Mm-hmm.
Go, gal, go. That's all I'm
Sister,
Yes.
It's just like your private prayer time. Our testimony. One day I got up and I spent 2 hours with God. Maybe 1 hour praying and 1 hour studying. 2 hours here, 2 hours. My day went. I was like, yeah, I should do this every day.
Yeah.
But when you pray first in the morning, get your marching orders for that day, that gives you something to work with.
It does.
And like before, sometimes I want to text you with somebody, but it's like, how you gonna call somebody else?
Yeah.
What you got for them when you ain't got yours yet?
Right.
You can't
right.
minister to nobody how they doing, but you're not even minister to yet.
Yeah.
So put it in the first thing, look your whole day. Like, yeah. When you don't do it, I should have, because that's how I've been thinking. I don't know if I did that 2 hour thing since then, but it sure made my day go nice. I'm telling you,
Whenever you put in your time,
Yeah.
whatever the time is,
Mhm.
whenever you put in your time with Him first, you know, it's gonna come out right.
Yeah.
Yeah, acknowledging Him first.
Yeah.
Each day.
Each day, the other day. Yeah.
Each day.
Prioritize.
Because tomorrow you may not put in your time the way you did.
Right,
the 2 hours.
right, exactly.
So, you know, we tend to say, I'm going to do this every day.
Right,
This is good.
right.
But we really can't speak for what we're going to do tomorrow because we
Yeah.
won't.
And it didn't happen like that the next day.
That's exactly right.
But see, for the people of Yah that are dependent on Yah, that's sufficient. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we can be sufficient in that daily thing because it's a relationship that's not going nowhere.
That's
you know,
right.
it's how you are. Like, if a person that's married, there's a safety that you have because you know this person's not going anywhere. You're going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to see you the next day. we can just take our time. Yeah.
Assume that.
Typically, you know. But, you know, you're not in it's not this frenzy. Like, say you're dating somebody and, you know, you go home, they go home. It's like,
Right.
hey, you know, you're not going to see them. You know, you're going to see them again. It's like this, you know, so there's no need to be anxious when you're married because they're there. You know, so
Yeah.
you're building together, growing together. But, you know, it's the same thing with Yah. It's like when you trust and know that He's with you, He's going to provide for you every day. There's no need to be anxious.
That's right.
He's right here. He's here today. And that's all you need, you know, you can
That's
rest in it.
right.
You know, but the world has us so anxious. You can write down Proverbs 27:1. And I'm just going to read it. It says, do not boast of tomorrow, for you do not know what a day brings forth. Do not boast of tomorrow, because you do not know what a day brings forth. in James talks about it in James 4:13. He quotes that, and he says, "Come now, you who say today or tomorrow, let us go to such and such a city, spend a year there, and trade and make a profit. When you do not know of tomorrow, for what is your life? It is a vapor that appears for a little and then disappears.
Yeah.
Instead of your saying, if the master desires, we shall live and do this or that. But now you boast in your proud speeches. All such boasting is wicked." So he's coming from that scripture saying you don't know tomorrow. Like you don't know.
Which scripture was it?
James 4:13 through 16. Now, is that to say that there's anything wrong with having plans? There's nothing wrong with having plans. There's nothing wrong with intending certain things. But we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. He said instead of saying, what did he say? He said, if the master desires, then we shall do this or do that. If it's Yah's will, then this is what's going to happen. But we're subject to Yah day by day. Yah knows tomorrow. We don't know tomorrow. Then it'll cause us to not fall into this anxiety because we don't know tomorrow anyway. So we can accept when something changes. We can accept, what is actually going on versus what we think in our minds we want to happen. Because we get like, I'm supposed to be married by this time, or this is supposed to happen by this time, or I had plans to do this, and then things go a different direction, and we resist it. Sometimes, it may be something happening that we need to resist, but sometimes God's like, no, I didn't tell you to do that. Or that was a good thought that you had, but this is what I want you to do for real. This is what I want you to do. We have, we imagine things in our heart, it's natural, but we have to be surrendered to the point where Y'all can move us in the way that he wants to move us, so he may have given you the thought, like, to get you on a path, but now he's going to be like, all right, so now turn right. And I'm like, that's not what that's not how I saw this going. I'm going this way. He's like, this is not your life is surrendered, so I need you to go this way. So we have to be surrendered enough to be able to do that. So do not boast about tomorrow. But Yah intends for us to order our days aright.
Yeah.
In Psalms 90:12, he says, "Help me to number." Let me go to it. Psalms 90:12, he says, "Teach us to number our days, and let us bring the heart to wisdom." Teach us to number our days, and let us bring the heart to wisdom. Teach me how to regulate my day to day.
Yes.
And this is in the mindset of knowing that being connected to Yah, knowing that He's eternal. This is not how the world says, and it's a scripture that says, eat and drink because tomorrow we die.
Yeah.
Eat and drink because tomorrow we die. So it's basically saying, just do you, live your best life. Do you. We're gonna all die anyway. That's giving no thought for tomorrow. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about not giving any thought for tomorrow. We know that Yah is directing our steps, and He has. He's working all things out for us for eternal matters. But the world says, hey, just do what you do. Live it up, we all gonna die anyway, so you might as well live it up now. You only got one life to live. Do it now. So and that's in doing things that are destructive.
Right.
Who cares? Eat what I want to eat. We all gonna die of something.
That's exactly what you said. That's right.
Eat what I want to eat, So those things lead to death, but when we stay in Yah, it leads to life because we're not engaged in stress. We're engaged in the things that are giving us life today.
Amen.
They talked about how it was something that they would cook. The family member would cook, and they would cook like a fish or something, and they would cut
Ham.
like the they would cut the fish, like cut the tail, cut the fish to a small length or whatever. I think it was a fish or something. You know, they would do it, and then the next generation they would do it, and the next generation would do it, and then finally one of the kids were like, you know, why do we cut this piece off of it? You know, nobody knew. And then when they went back to the original, to the great grandmother, whatever, they were like, well, you know, when I did it, my pot wasn't big enough to fit the whole thing. So I cut it off so it could fit the pot. You know, so they were doing it for a reason, you know, but then they just passed this tradition down. They don't even know why they're doing it.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Thank you.
So, you know, so stuff starts somewhere, and then sometimes we just pick it up. You know, if our mother says something, we just pick up what our mom said. You know,
and sometimes it's because of a stubborn will.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's because of pride.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give myself a reason not to do it. And say that, well, everybody dies of something. That's in one area that's really ignorance. Meaning not stupidity, but ignorance. They don't know that if they do, say smoking, if they do quit, they don't know how their body's gonna feel because they want to make an excuse to keep smoking. So they say, well, you gotta die of something. That's not a person that's sick, like the person I was telling y'all about, but just a person that's just out here doing whatever they want to do, whatever it is that's going to be harmful to the body, and then Yah tells us not to. And it's not always so much because of sin. Yes, because of sin, but it's because He knows the harm that it's going to do to us. Just like people look at the law, at the Torah, they're so caught up on the law. It's don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, and you must do this, and you must do that. No, it's instruction. The Torah is instruction so that you don't fall into that. It's not a negative. It's instruction so that you don't, so that you can be. But there's some people, like we've read and we've had in our teachings, they didn't want it. You know, the Hebrew, our people, they didn't want to listen. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. And it always got us in trouble. So for some it's a low esteem and for others it's pride. It's an excuse to do what they want to do. Strong will. But it's passed on. Either way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, in the verse we started with, it said that the last line of the verse we started with in Jeremiah, when it says, return to the ancient path, find a good way, and walk in it. And then it said, their response was, we will not walk in it. That was the response back then. We won't do it. We don't want it.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you hit on something I was going to hit on, Apostle, about looking back. That there is a time to look back. When Yah tells us to look back, He tells us to look back at what He's done. To remember, He always tells us to remember what He's done. Remember how He's brought us out. Like we always look back and remember that. Then we always look back and remember. He tells us to look back at our ancestors and how they were victorious in Him. You know, so we look back at history and how Yah moved in our situations, in our ancestor situations. Like those are good things to look back on. Because those are things that are, even though they're in the past, they're now. They're past, but they're eternal, so they're now. You know, so you're looking at something that's alive. It's not something that's dead. So He says, don't look back at things that are dead. You know, it was one of the people was following Yahushua. He said, you know, come follow me. He said, if I have to go bury my father, I got to go bury somebody. He said, let the dead bury their own dead. You know, don't look back at things that are dead to keep you from being in life right now. I'm trying to give you life. Don't look back at dead things, dead situations, things that aren't bearing fruit. We don't need to recap, you know, this person did to me and this person, you know, this happened, and we like to recap the past a whole lot. Like those things are dead. You're bringing death into your now. You know, so like leave that where it is. Let the dead bury their own dead. And you stay in now. Remember the life that Yah. Remember what Yah did. It's life. It's everlasting. It's eternal. It won't ever fail. So those are the things that we can look back at, and we can look prophetically at what Yah has said about our future. You know, the things that He has said about our future. We can look forward to those things. The things that we know that He's going to bring. The things that cause us to prepare. You know, so So like when we look at the Moedim, so the set apart times, our feast days and the set apart times, each one of those looks back and looks forward.
Right.
But it's for an eternal purpose.
Right.
So the Moedim, they were remembrance and a memorial of things that have happened. When the spring feast are all things that have happened. And then they're also looking forward to the future. We look at the fall feast and it's looking forward to Yahushua coming and how that all plays out. We're going to start getting into talking about that stuff.
Yes.
But so those things are eternal things that he gives us as markers to look at. Okay, this memorial, this remembrance, because it's eternal. And that's why one of the reasons why we talked about them changing the times. We talked about changing times and seasons, changing times and laws. They want to change it and get us out of sync so that we're not lined up, so that we're in sync to the world's times and the world's laws and ways of thinking. You can look at that as a law that I do what I want to do, and what we were just talking about, like that's a law, that's a principle that people live by. Yes. So they give us these principles to live by, they give us these laws, and then they give us their seasons to synchronize ourselves to, sync up, save your money up so you have a fund for Christmas, so that you can have enough money for your gifts. You know what I mean? And they sync us up, so month by month our mind is on, okay, February is love. All right, we're in love in February, Valentine's Day. In March, February is Black History. I get to have that month, and then we having a cookout in July, it's fireworks. So we synchronize our whole lives based on these things. Okay, it's the fall. All right, now gift giving season, we love. So it's like our whole life is synchronized to the world, and all of us revolve around money because the whole point of it is to give them more money. Right. They're just trying to get our dollars.
You know what I thought about when you were reading the scriptures about there's a way that man thinketh is right, and one of them says, but the end is death. Yeah. And then the other ones that you read. Look at the leader of this country right now. He's stuck in a way that he thinks is right. Yeah. And look at where the rest of the country is. Look at what's happening to the people. Yeah. He thinks it's right. Yeah. But you better believe he's being controlled by somebody else. And they think what they're doing is right. The president never has power of his own. Yeah. Yeah. It's always somebody else that's controlling it all. And there's something going on. That's a part of that spiritual warfare. There's something going on in the spirit where the people of this country, and because the rest of the world is already messed up, but now they're focusing on this country because of the weaknesses at the head. Supposedly the head. Yeah. The weakness that we see in the one who is at the head, supposed to be. Yeah, yeah. And that's affected the whole nation. Yeah. Yeah. And it's the enemy using man to destroy. Because if anybody rises up, it's going to be in this country or Israel. And these are the two countries right now that are in the spotlight. Except for the countries against us. So it's all a spiritual thing, and people look at the politics and what this group says and what that group says, but it's really warfare, and it has to be fought in the spirit for those that are being affected by it. You can pray for the leader, because the word says to, my prayer is that his eyes will be open before he's destroyed, because he's on a path that leads to destruction. Yeah. But my prayer is that his eyes will be open, and that's all I have to say about that. Yeah. But you can see how when one person is stuck, it can affect families, community. Yeah. If I get stuck in a certain place, in my mindset, it's going to affect this community here in Antioch. It's going to affect my family. Yeah. It's going to affect me. It's going to affect this community. Yeah. So that is very important. But keep in mind that the warfare is done spiritually. That's part of the reason why he gave me that dream. The fight is in the spirit.
I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna pick up. Pick back up next week. We're gonna be moving into. So in them changing the times. So next week we're gonna pick up talking about times and seasons and how we'll get more into that. But I'm gonna close out to say that the Moedim are a time of looking backwards and looking forward. But it keeps us in today by encouraging us to be vigilant. It encourages us to prepare for. So Yahushua was constantly telling them to be mindful of the seasons that you're in. You know, don't be caught off guard. You know, don't be like the foolish virgins and not come suddenly. You know, so in us, there's a verse where they're saying, I know that you're not ignorant of the times and seasons. They were talking to the other believers, and they said, you're not ignorant of the times and the seasons because you're aware. You're keeping the time. You're keeping the appointed time, so you know what season we're in. You know, so when you know what season you're in, you're going to act appropriately. And so we're going to dig more into that, what that means and what that looks like. But when y'all gave us those appointed times, it was for us to remember, to memorialize, so we'll be in the right mindset now. We talked about that, the dream with the army and that them being prepared and the men rising up. You have to have the right mindset. They were victorious because they had the right mindset.
Right.
You know, so he's preparing us to have the right mindset in today, so that when the time comes, we're always ready. You're in position. You have you have your weapons. You have everything that you need. You're prepared mentally and emotionally and spiritually for what you're having to deal with. You know, so when you know your past, and you know the victorious part of your past, and you know who you are, and you're well rooted in that, and then you know where you're going, you know your prophetic future and where Yah's taking you and what things are going to go down, then you're strengthened in today to be able to make the right decisions and to be able to, you won't be saying things like, if I die, you'll be living in today life. You'll be living life today. You know, so it all works together to empower you. You know, and the world is doing everything to keep us off balance and to keep us off from that, out of sync. And it's doing everything it can to keep us out of sync. So we ain't synchronized. We go on the wrong clock, you know. If you're on the wrong clock, you show up at the wrong time, right?
All right.
All right.
Amen.